My miserable long-distance boyfriend visited me and made me pay for everything, so I abandoned him. I'm still feeling heartbroken after everything turned out the way it did, even though I think I did the right thing by leaving him. I've been with my boyfriend for about a year now. We met online on a server for a video game that we both play. When we first met, we had an instant connection, and we would stay up till very late at night just talking and playing games together. My boyfriend was such a funny carefree guy. Meanwhile, I am sort of uptight and hyper-organized, so I felt like his chill personality really balanced me out. We spoke romantically often, and he would always tell me how much he liked me and how badly he wanted to come see me. We live in the same country, but he lives states away from me. We decided together that we wanted to meet up finally for our 1-year anniversary. My boyfriend doesn't have a stable job. Instead, he makes money from doing odd jobs here and there, so I did know that he didn't have a lot of money. His parents are also pretty wealthy, so I know they give him money whenever he asks for it too. For all these reasons, I thought it would be fine if he visited me, and I figured he could handle the expenses. We started planning our trip, and that's when I realized my boyfriend was sort of cheap. I kept sending him flights from reliable airlines, but he shot them all down and chose the cheapest airline possible. I warned him that I had flown that airline previously and it was an awful experience, but all he said was that he didn't need my opinion on how he spent his money. After he said that, I stopped commenting on any of the travel plans. The whole plan was that I would pick him up from the airport, and he would stay with me in my apartment for about a week. I was excited, and I kept telling him about all the fun stuff I wanted to do together in my city. I planned things like a picnic in a park, a museum day, and a day trip to a nearby city. When it was finally time for my boyfriend to arrive, I was over the moon. When we met for the first time in the airport, we kissed, and it felt like my heart just exploded. It was such a happy and romantic reunion. I could have never guessed how downhill things were about to go. Before we even got to my apartment, my boyfriend was complaining that he was hungry and that he needed to eat. I told him that I had bought lots of fresh food and I could cook him a nice dinner back at my apartment. He kind of sighed at this, but then we passed a fast food chain, and he begged and whined until I stopped and pulled in. I was offended when he didn't even pull out his wallet in the drive-thru. He didn't even ask me if I was getting something either. I had no idea that this was how he was going to treat me the entire trip, like I was his personal piggy bank. I'm shocked at how much worse things got before he finally left.
My miserable long-distance boyfriend visited me and made me pay for everything, so I abandoned him. When we finally got back to my apartment that night, he immediately wanted to take a nap instead of hanging out. Okay, fine, he did just get off a plane. I let him sleep, and I cooked dinner by myself. Honestly, it felt a little depressing, sitting there in my kitchen alone, eating the dinner I bought for us, alone, while my boyfriend slept in the other room. He didn't wake up again, and I eventually just went to sleep as well. I couldn't even sleep in my own bed with him since he had spread out over the entire bed, and there was no room for me. My boyfriend woke up around 1 a.m. and jostled me awake, asking if I had any snacks. I told him where my snacks were and watched him literally eat every bag of snacks in my entire kitchen. I had bought snacks for us to last the whole week, and he ate them in 2 hours and went back to bed. I was exhausted and annoyed the next day, and on top of everything, my boyfriend took a long shower and left no hot water for me. He even used all my towels and left them soaked on the floor of my bathroom. At this point, I was desperate to turn the trip around, so we left the apartment to go explore the city together. First, we went to an outdoor market. While we were there, my boyfriend found a piece of art he really wanted and begged me to buy it for him. I asked him why he didn't just buy it himself, and he literally said, "Well, I really don't feel like spending $200 on it." I was appalled, and I told him I wasn't buying it for him. I guess this put him in a bad mood and he started acting dry and spent most of the rest of the day playing on his phone and ignoring me. At one point, we went to a museum, but at the ticket booth, he said, "I'm not wasting money on this place. If you want us to go so bad, you buy the tickets." We were right there in line in front of a bunch of strangers, so I just bought the tickets to move us along. My boyfriend spent the entire time we were in the museum playing on his phone. I might as well have been there all alone. I remember staring at the beautiful paintings and feeling lonely enough to cry. I had spent so long wanting my boyfriend near me. Here he finally was, and I resented him. When we finally got back to my apartment that night, I cooked us a big meal that I was excited about. My boyfriend didn't offer to help me cook, and instead took another nap. He was cranky when he woke up, and after taking a single bite of dinner, he made a face and said he didn't like it. I said that I had worked really hard on it, but I guess I could make him something else so he wouldn't be hungry. I really didn't want to do this, but I was just trying to be a good host. My boyfriend then asked if I would drive him back to the fast food place so he could actually have something good for dinner. At this point, I was getting very upset, and I told him I had plenty of food at him and I really didn't feel like going out again. He gave me a dirty look and said, "What, so you just want me to f***ing starve then?" Before I even had a chance to respond, he grabbed my keys and walked out the door. As I watched him drive away in my car, I knew I had reached my limit with this man. His fast food dinner would be the first thing he actually paid for himself since he landed in my city, and I wasn't about to stand by as he continued to mooch off me. I threw all of his poop in his bag while he was out, and I waited for him outside until he got back.
My miserable long-distance boyfriend visited me and made me pay for everything, so I abandoned him. My boyfriend looked confused when I walked up to the car holding his bag, but all I said was move. I guess he could tell by my tone that I wasn't screwing around, and I threw his bag in the trunk and plopped myself in the driver's seat. As soon as he saw me put in the directions for the airport, he started berating me. He said I was being over-emotional, that he was my guest and that I shouldn't have expected him to pay for anything while he was here. I asked him if that's the only reason he came here, to get free stuff out of me. He said he expected me to serve him and thought I would act like a better host. I just rolled my eyes and started ignoring him. That's when he started violently insulting me for the rest of the ride. He said that I was no better than any other gold-digging woman and that all modern women cared about was milking men of all their money. I was disgusted to see the truth about the person I had called my boyfriend all year, and I just wanted him out of my car and my life forever. The closer we got to the airport, the nastier his words got. He called me a crazy lonely bitch and said that no one will ever want me since I can't provide. He knows I have struggled with mental health before, and he even started saying that I should just give up and unalive myself since I was so useless. He was being so cruel, and I honestly started to get scared since he was only getting angrier and angrier the longer the ride went on. Right before the ride ended, he started quoting Andrew Tate and called me a useless hole. When we parked at the airport, he refused to leave my car. I got out of the car myself and threw his bag out on the concrete. That made him finally get out of my car. I started to get back into the driver's seat, but not before he spit right in my face. I wanted to cry right there. Other people were watching the scene he was making, and I felt humiliated. He even punched my window as I drove off while continuing to curse me out. The entire experience was honestly one of the worst things I've ever been through, and I won't be putting myself out there again for a long time.